It's time to put Malakai Branham in the spotlight.
You are Locked On Spurs, your daily San Antonio Spurs podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back to Locked On Spurs, right here on the Locked On NBA Network. I'm your host, Jeff Garcia, Spurs writer for Ken's 5 San Antonio. Glad to have you back. Hey, TGIF, everybody. Hope you had a great work week, and now at end of the work week, and get it ready for that weekend. What are we talking about today? We're going to be looking at the rookie Malakai Branham. Look, he's been getting a little bit more run of late, not being stashed away in Austin. We have somewhat of a nice little sample size of what he's doing in the NBA. What do we like? What don't we like? What do the numbers show about Malakai? And then Spurs play the Heat tomorrow. We'll just take a quick peek at that game. By the way, thanks for making Locked On Spurs your first listen each and every day. We are free and available wherever we get podcasts. Who is helping me today? Well, the man, the myth, the legend, the guy who does plumbing in dress shoes. He is Michael Jimenez with San Antonio Sports Star. Follow him on Twitter at MikeESPNSA. How do you do it, Jimenez? How do you tend to plumbing issues in dress shoes?
Dude, that was my wife, man. Last night, had so many issues with my plumbing. Couldn't figure out what was going on. My brother-in-law is a plumber, and I'm on the phone with him, and he's like, go outside and see if the water is draining towards the street, and it's underneath all these bushes. So I just grabbed the first pair of shoes that I had, and my wife did not realize was taking photos of me the entire time. So I had to post it on Twitter. That's a wifey special right there.
Hey, it looked like a crime scene. It looked like it was a crime scene. It did. Your feet were all like hanging out and sticking out. When he saw like your torso, your waist up or waist down in this case. But hey, life of a husband and a father and a homeowner. There it is right there. By the way, everybody, Jimenez will be joining Locked On Spurs a little bit more than usual. He'll be taking a vacation first, but when he gets back, he's still on vacation from his his San Antonio Sports Star side. So you got a little bit of a home here, Jimenez, before you get back on track with the Star.
Yeah, got to keep those reps going. Off of the Star for 18 days. I don't know what I'm going to do with myself. So I was like, yeah, I'll do some Locked On Spurs.
Yeah, we'll spike it up a little bit. So you got a little bit of a home here. Think of it as your Airbnb before you go back to the San Antonio Sports Star. Hey, Jimenez, Malakai Branham, rookie, getting a nice little burn with San Antonio as opposed to Austin. I think he's only been sent to Austin once. I mean, it was just for a cup of coffee, just in and out. Hasn't been falling into that whole Popovich rookie path, Austin Spurs for months on end, and then San Antonio. He's getting burned. I think that's the way it should be for him and the rest of the rookies this season, Jimenez.
Yeah, so there were 3 games earlier this month where he had more than 20 minutes per game. So as you said, we're getting a good look at him. It's not one of those things where he's having to come in 2 or 3 minutes at a time. He's getting some burn.
Yeah.
It's a long journey for Malakai Branham, and I'm optimistic for him. Really, I am. I mean, this is somebody who was projected to go higher in the draft, and he fell to the Spurs. The shooting percentage is not ideal, but it's to be expected. We've seen this with rookies many years with the Spurs, whether it be going back to Kawhi Leonard to even Josh Primo. Look at that. I used 2 names there that should never be spoken again, but they struggled their first year. So I'm not going to be pessimistic about him this year because his shot is off. I know that he can shoot because he did at Ohio State. He was a 41% three-point shooter at Ohio State. So I think this is just transitioning to a faster style of play, better defenders, and he's just trying to find his way.
Yeah, 14 games played with San Antonio, averaging 4.9 points per game, 1.6 rebounds, 1.6 assists, and he's actually had 4 starts as a rookie, which is unheard of during the Popovich era. But hey, he has no choice. He's got to throw bodies out there. They've been hit with the injury bug, different rotations, hit injuries to his specific position, the guard spot. And I think that's kind of like the silver lining right now for these rookies, including Branham, is that yeah, it sucks the Spurs getting hit with the injury bug, but it forces Pop's hand to play these guys more, Jimenez.
Yeah, I like the way that you phrase it, forcing Pop's hand, because Pop's hand was forced to play Keldon Johnson. Pop's hand was forced to play Devin Vassell. And sometimes, we're not going to know what these young guys are going to have until they're actually thrust into the lineup. And we've had some minor successes, with Keldon and with Devin Vassell. But it's interesting, though, right? I mean, this is not a normal Pop team where these young guys are getting run. I mean, we've seen Jeremy Sohan, when he was healthy, start a lot of games as well. So this is part of the bumps and bruises of going through a deep rebuild, is seeing these guys out there struggle and find their way. It doesn't seem as though Malakai has lost confidence. It's just one of those things where, he's just trying to find his place on the floor, and there's no rapport with the team as well. I mean, he's got a lot of, obviously as a rookie, these are all new teammates to him. And it's going to take time for him to kind of figure things out, especially if he's going in and out of the lineup.
Yeah. You look at him. He's I guess a combo guard. He really, that's it for him. I don't see him playing the 3 or a 4. Batman. I mean, they tend to switch him between the shooting guard and the point guard. He's actually played the point guard twice in those 14 games, but he leans more towards the off guard. I look at him and I see just a kid that just needs more burn. Just throw him out there. Keep on throwing him out there. Every time he speaks with the media, whether it be pregame or, in practice, he always says, still learning. Heading into this season between him, Sohan, and Wesley, I was leaning towards Malakai as to having more of the better rookie season. Obviously, right now that's Sohan, but simply because he stayed in college longer than the other 2 kids. What do you think about that? Do you think maybe his outlook is perhaps, like, his learning curve could be shorter than Sohan or Wesley's?
Well, it's interesting that you bring up all the different rookies that the Spurs have. I mean, when the season started, I didn't think that all 3 would be drafted and actually be on this team. I thought that was going to be impossible. You and I talked about that. We were like, no way Spurs draft 3 rookies. Not going to happen. And they kept them. And not only that, they tend to play them. And if it wasn't for Wesley's injury, he'd probably be getting more run as well. Comparing the 2, though, Sohan had the athleticism and the defensive game that made it so that he earned his minutes on the court, that it wasn't a bad thing for him to be out there playing, because defensively we knew that he could bring it. Malakai Branham, at that 6'5" frame, you call him a combo guard. Pop has a thing for combo guards. We saw that with Derek White. He has a thing for him, and do I think that Malakai Branham was going to be the best rookie? I probably would have bet early on Sohan, just simply because he can bring it defensively. But we saw in the summer league, Wesley was playing better than Malakai Branham more often than not, and then he got hurt. Yeah. So Malakai Branham is a long-term project. The dude's still just 19 years old, and the verdict is still out. It's going to take probably another 2 or 3 seasons before we figure out exactly how good this player can be and what exactly the Spurs have.
Yeah, we keep forgetting he's still just a teenager, 19 years old. He's still going to fill out his frame. He's still going to learn the game. He's a better, all 3 of the rookies, good pieces of NBA clay to mold into solid NBA players. When we get back, we're going to continue our chat about Malakai Branham, look at some of the stats. What does he need to improve on? What are some bright spots for the promising NBA pro? But before we do that, I want to bring to you a message from the NHTSA. Hey, drive sober or get pulled over. You're hanging out with some friends. You're putting back a few drinks. A few becomes a few too many. As the evening comes to an end, people start to head out, and you're thinking of calling for a ride. Nah, you're not going to do that. You live nearby. You can make it home okay. It's no big deal. Well, what are the odds that you'll get pulled over anyway, right? Yeah. You're also probably thinking, what's the worst that can happen? Insurance can go up. That's one thing. You lose your license, lose your job, total your car, or worse yet, you kill someone. Look, everyone knows about the risk of driving drunk. The results are tragic and often deadly. However, that still doesn't stop people from getting behind the wheel while they're under the influence. That's why police officers are out there right now looking for impaired drivers on our roads to save lives. So if you think you're okay to drive after a few drinks, think again. Play it safe, plan ahead, get a ride. It only takes one mistake to change your life or someone else's forever. Drive sober or get pulled over. And now I want to talk to you about Prize Picks. It's a daily fantasy app you need to get right now. How does it work? You pick 2 to 6 players. If they go on to score more or less than the Prize Pick projections, you can win up to 25 times your money on any entry. No competing against other people. It's just you versus the projections available. Prize Picks offers projections on any sport you watch, including the NBA, NFL, MLB, NHL, PGA, Euro Golf, cricket, MMA, boxing, and so much more. Even NASCAR and tennis. Entries can be made in 60 seconds or less. It's that easy, safe, and fast withdrawals. Currently operational in over 30 states in Canada. Download the Prize Picks app right now, or just go to prizepicks.com to sign up and play daily fantasy sports. First-time users can get themselves a 100% instant deposit match up to $100 with promo code Locked On. You deposit $100, Prize Picks gives you $100. You deposit $50, Prize Picks gives you $50. Don't forget to enter promo code Locked On and sign up for an instant deposit match up to $100. And we're back right here on Locked On Spurs with Michael Jimenez of San Antonio Sports Star and halftime with Michael Jimenez. Hey, thanks for making Locked On Spurs your first listen today. Second listen, check out Locked On Sports Today. Locked On Sports Today, available on this app, YouTube, wherever you get podcasts. Jimenez, everybody in San Antonio is going to miss you when you take your vacation.
Yeah,
right?
I'm feeling the love right now on Twitter. Believe me, Spurs Twitter is been giving me a lot of grief. And you know what? You throw gasoline on the fire of all of it. Sometimes I appreciate it. Other times I don't. But no, it's all good and fun. And that's the great thing about it all is that I don't take anything personally. I know that it's all fun and games. And some people love the show. Some people hate the show. But as long as they listen, that's all that matters.
And I'll say it again. The one thing I like about Jimenez is that he's a good guy. If you ever get to meet him, off the mic, you'll have a good time. Trust me, you'll have a fun time with Jimenez. But I like that he's just a really good sport about it. He doesn't take anything too seriously. Although, still, I never forgive you for saying Dark Knight is not an A+ movie. That one hurt.
That
one hurt. That hurt so much. That hurts so much. Now you're gonna gaslight the nerd fan base now here with that one. But
yeah, I know, pissing off people about the band Rush. Apparently, nerds like Rush. I didn't know.
Well, you know what though, but more people in that take you had, more people were coming out kind of agreeing with you. I think there was more than a little bit of a handful saying like, yeah, you're right. Yeah, you're right. It wasn't as bad as your other ones, from the Cowboys attack to the Spurs takes to the Sohan stuff. But by the way, how's that bet going with the coloring of the hair?
Yeah. So I'm glad that you brought that up. I did the math yesterday on Sohan. I can't believe you brought this up. So I tweeted out there, I don't know, a few weeks ago that if Jeremy Sohan brought his 3-point shooting up to 35%, that I would shave my head and color it the same as Sohan's color, right? And he's at 17% right now.
Uh-oh.
And he missed his last 2 when he came back from injury, and he's at 17%. But I calculated that if he makes the next 13 in a row, we're at 35%.
Uh-oh. Get ready, Jimenez. Get ready.
Watch him get hot.
Yeah,
find his inner Steph Curry.
I know. Yeah, and then it all goes downhill for that. Bad for you, good for the fans that tune into halftime with Michael Jimenez at the San Antonio Sports Star. Hey, let's continue our chat about Malakai Branham. Look at some of the numbers here. We kind of gave you earlier the season averages. Again, 4.9 points per game, 1.6 rebounds per game, 1.6 assists. But then that's where things kind of hit the brakes, and yeah, yikes. 32% shooting from the field and 22% shooting from the three line, Jimenez. Not good for a guy that was touted as being one of the better shooters in the draft.
No, it's not good. I mean, I'm not going to sugarcoat that, but it's not something that I'm really worried about. And I'm not saying that I'm being hypocritical because I kind of rag on Sohan for his three-point shooting. Sohan was not a three-point shooter in college to begin with. He shot, I mean, don't get me wrong, he shot high volume, but only at like a 29% clip. So him dropping to 17% kind of falls in line with the fact that he's not a very good outside shooter. But Branham was somebody who was a high volume 3-point shooter in college and was shooting it almost at 41%. So I'm not necessarily worried about whether or not he can knock down some threes in the future, because he has demonstrated in the past that he can actually do it during a game, albeit at the college level. When these rookies get into the NBA, it's kind of like a quarterback in the NFL who says that the game is really too fast for them. And as they get older and get more experience, it slows down and it improves their game. Usually you see a dip in 3-point shooting the second they enter the league. It happened to Keldon Johnson also. I mean, we can trust Keldon now. Look at Devin Vassell. I mean, Vassell is essentially a 40% 3-point shooter. He did that in college too, but look at what happened the first couple of seasons with the Spurs. It dipped. And I think it's a learning curve that goes on with these players as they're young. I think they're trying to focus on defensive assignments. I think they're trying to focus on pleasing Pop. And because of that, it's just a confidence thing. And that confidence is going to come with maturity. It's going to come with more repetition and more practice and more familiarity with their teammates, and also with a more defined role on the team. So Branham dropping to 22% 3-point shooting is not an unexpected thing, nor do I think it's a thing that is going to be detrimental for him long term.
Here's the thing, too. We break down his field goal percentage just by distance, from the rim. You tend to see a pattern here. He's really good inside the 3 line. So his overall 2-point percentage is 44%. So he's like, all right, considering, as you mentioned, the rookie and adjusting to the NBA style, whatnot. Now, at the rim, about 67%. From 3 to 10 feet from the rim, 56% shooting. You see a pattern now. 10 to 16 feet from the rim, 40%. And then 3-point line, it's 22%. So really good, kind of a mid-rangey guy getting inside that 3 line. But anything kind of really extended out, he tends to struggle from that as well. Interesting enough, and maybe you might correct me if I'm wrong here, Jimenez. I don't think he's even dunked in the game yet. I don't think he's dunked in a game.
I mean, I don't want to say he's short because he's a lot taller than me, but part of that is aggressiveness, and that's the thing about these young players is that they tend to rely on the jumper as opposed to just driving it to the rack and being more aggressive that way. Keep in mind, it's better defensive players in the pros than they were in the Big Ten, so it's to be expected. But it's I'm just happy overall that these rookies are getting run, and I hope that Wesley comes back from his injury in time to get some run in March and April.
Yeah, and just one more stat before I ask Jimenez a big question regarding the rookie Branham. I look at Malakai, and I agree with you. I don't think you should. No, the Spurs should just say okay, or fans be he's a bust, he's done, whatever, wasted pick. No, way too soon for that. But interesting enough, from the 3 line, he struggles the most from the corner 3. And supposedly that is the easiest of the 3 shots to take when you're behind that line. Is the corner 3.
If Bruce Bowen can knock him down, right?
yeah, exactly. So he struggles with 13% from the 3 from the corner.
It's one of those things where I think so much is going on in his head. It's so bizarre to think about it that we have these 19-year-olds. We have several 19-year-olds on this team. And it's so bizarre to comprehend what they're going through on a nightly basis. And that's why I'm big when it comes to drafting players who already have the skill set and can just refine that skill set when they're in the pros. It's different when it's projects who couldn't demonstrate how to shoot in other levels of play. You got to shoot in this league. You have to have that talent. Malakai Branham definitely does have that talent. It's going to come around. He just needs to get those reps, get that confidence going. But I like what you said about him being relatively decent from the 2-point range. They're going into trees there. There's 7-footers in this league. There's a lot going on that's a lot faster paced than when they were in college. So there's a transition time. That's the one thing I can say, though, about Jeremy Sohan that is positive is the fact that defensively And in that area of the game, he's up to speed with everything. It's just going to take a while for Branham to be as comfortable as Sohan is on a night in, night out basis.
Yeah, hopefully Branham will get on track. Last few games hasn't been kind to him from the just from the field. 1 for 4 from the field goal in 7 minutes of play versus Portland, so maybe that's a little bit of a throwaway. But he got about 15 minutes at Miami, shot 33%, 1 for 3, and versus Houston in a win, 2 for 7 from the field, 28%. And from three line, he hasn't been good. He's only connected on 2 3-point shots in 9 attempts in the last 3 games, Jimenez.
Well, the only thing I'm looking at right now is, and we saw this in the Portland game. You know, Portland came into the AT&T Center and beat up on the Spurs. And one of the things about it was it appeared as though Portland was shooting high percentage shots at all times.
Mm-hmm.
Like they were forcing the ball up. And that's what I'm judging Malakai Branham on right now is he forcing balls up? You know, is it one of those things where he's in stride, he's in rhythm, and is he setting himself up for success when he's shooting the ball? And so far it's been decent. I mean, it's not like one of those things where we're seeing him just fling the ball up in the air and have absolutely no chance. So if he's actually setting his shot, you know, and if he has his feet set and he's shooting the ball and it's a high percentage shot because it's not heavily contested, then whether it goes in or out is irrelevant this year because it'll start going in as he gets more experience in the NBA.
Absolutely. When we get back, I'm going to ask Jimenez a question about Malakai's future, and we're going to look at the game versus the Heat tomorrow. But before we do that, I want to talk to you about BetOnline.net. BetOnline.net is your number one source for sports betting information, stats, and news and analysis. Get the latest odds and trends for every professional and amateur league out there, from pro football to college bowl season to basketball, the World Cup. They got it all over at BetOnline. And if you love sports podcasts, you'll find those over at betonline.net as well. I go to BetOnline when I need to look at NBA props regarding the silver and black, whether it be the rookies in the chase for the Rookie of the Year award to the Spurs win totals. They got it all over at BetOnline. They're the fastest and easiest way to bet on anything, and you can get all your betting information there at BetOnline. Head to the website today. Use your mobile device to learn more. BetOnline, that's where the game starts. And we're back right here with Michael Jimenez with San Antonio Sports Star and host of Halftime with Michael Jimenez. He'll be talking to you about that in just a few seconds. We've been looking at Malakai Branham start to his pro career here, Jimenez. But based on everything we looked at, from his style of play to some of the numbers to just the eye test, do you think maybe he could use a little bit more time with the Austin Spurs?
That's a great question. The answer is yes. In any other season, Malakai Branham would have started in the G League and would have ended in the G League. I'm glad that he's getting the run and that he has some experience in the NBA, but he needs to get that night in, night out type of thing, get a little bit of an alpha mentality because, you know, if he does go to Austin, he'd be one of the better players on that roster and gain confidence that way. We saw that with other players, Spurs players in the past who've gone into the G League, gained that confidence, found their stroke, and then came back to the varsity squad. So, yeah, he should be with Austin for at least a little while. I mean, I don't want him, you know, sitting there for the entire season, but go down there, play 3 or 4 games, and come on back.
Yeah, I'm with you, too. I don't think they should stash him in Austin for the next half season. No, I think if he can get maybe a week or two with the Austin club, if anything, too, because it seems to be maybe a rhythm shooter. So get the reps to put him in rhythm. So when he does, I mean, in the situation where we're making up here, get recalled back to San Antonio, he has that shooting rhythm. You figure with the injuries and the different lineups, and you know he started 4 games, but then the other games he's coming off the bench. Maybe that throws off a rhythm shooter. Maybe this will help him get some rhythm. Again, not saying he should be stashed there for the rest of the season or for the next 4 months. I mean, I think a week and a half, I think that'll do him good. And yeah, hopefully the Spurs get a better product. But right now, hey, not too bad from the rookie Malakai Branham. Michael, the Spurs play the Heat tomorrow out in Mexico City. That's the home quote unquote game this season for the Spurs. I think the other one is next up is in the Dome game, and then the final two in Austin. But Spurs Heat, what do you think? How are you feeling about tomorrow night's game?
Well, the Spurs should have some confidence with it, man. They just played them, less than a week ago and won. It's funny in the NBA. There's certain teams that you can run with that for some reason either you have their number or it's going to be a close game. And we saw that the game against the Heat, last week. Dude, that was just a 2 to 3 or 4 point game basically the entire way.
Oh my God, yeah.
Spurs went on to win 115 to 111, but they should have some confidence there with it, simply because they know that they could beat this team. They've demonstrated that they could beat this team. And although they're on a neutral site, that might be, this might be just an interesting game for the Spurs because it is out of the country. It is a unique place to play. The Spurs don't play in Mexico City all the time. They have in the past, but this could be something that maybe they can band around and it could be an experience that they all, enjoy together. But yeah, the Spurs have shown that they could beat the Heat. They've shown that they can beat the Rockets, and those are the next two games coming up.
Yeah. And interesting enough, or funny enough, I should say, Keldon Johnson was asked after the game versus Portland about the trip to Mexico City. He just said he wants to stay locked in his room, watch YouTube, and play video games. And
these young guys, man. Come on.
They said that's all he wants to do. And I think he meant more like he doesn't want to spoil it for him because he goes, I don't want to spoil my next vacation destination. So maybe he doesn't want to go out there and look at all that Mexico City has to offer. And then like, okay, been there, done that. Maybe that's what he meant. But hey, we're done talking. We want to hear from you. What do you think about the rookie Malakai Branham? Likes, dislikes. What does the eye test tell you? What are some numbers that we didn't get to on Locked On Spurs? And why Branham may or may not should spend time or more time in Austin? And what do you think about tomorrow night's game or tomorrow's game? I think it's a midday game. Jimenez versus the Heat. You can let Jimenez know on Twitter at MikeESPNSA and tell us all about halftime with the Jimenez, the PSA. You're going to be out for a while. So, what do you got?
Yeah, so I'm excited about that. Going on an 18-day vacation, and I'm not being Mr. Fancy Pants, but part of that vacation is going to be going to Jamaica with my wife, celebrating our 10-year anniversary. We're actually close to our 11-year, but this was supposed to be our 10-year trip. But because of COVID and whatnot, we decided to push it back. So we're finally taking that trip right before Christmas. So I'm excited about that. People are asking the question, will halftime still be around during the Christmas break? And it's not going to be because we're going to be airing a lot of bowl games. We are an ESPN affiliate, so a lot of the bowl games will be on instead of halftime when I'm gone. Now, when I come back, it'll be January 3rd. Thinking about new segments, there's a lot of changes being made. It's a new year. It's going to be a new show. And we've got some pretty big developments that we're going to announce pretty soon.
Interesting.
We're ironing out some details right now, but some pretty big announcements should be made, I would say, between now and the end of the year. Hopefully it's announced when I'm still in town. But there's some things in the works right now that I'm excited about at San Antonio Sports Star.
Another reason why you should check out Halftime with Michael Jimenez at San Antonio Sports Star. Subscribe to Locked On Spurs wherever you get your favorite podcast, Google Play, Stitcher, iTunes, the Ken's 5 Plus app. And we thank you for making Locked On Spurs your first listen each and every day. Second listen, check out Locked On Sports Today podcast, available on the Odyssey app, YouTube, wherever you get podcasts. So for Michael Vacationing Jimenez, I am Jeff Garcia. We're going to put a lock on this episode of Locked On Spurs.